Okay, so exercise number 4 is to write a program that reads 3 grades between 0 and 100 and validate the input to make sure that the user enters valid grades, which means that if the user gives us invalid grades, we're going to keep asking him to give us invalid grades. And then calculate the average and display the letter grade of the average, whatever. So, but first of all, we need to read 3 numbers, and there are different ways. I'm just going to go for the simplest, easiest one, and then I'm going to show you maybe some better ones. But now this just go for the simplest, easy way to do these things. Equal new key scanner, and then let you use that, yes, and system.in. I use control space, so I will have this import done for me by NetBeans. Now I'm just going to ask, I'm not going to ask to get all the 3 numbers. Why? Because I just like to make sure that I do things one step at a time, and I'm going to read 1 number at a time and make sure that that number is respecting the condition. So I am going to say something like int grade 1 is equal to key b dot next, whatever, it would be next double or next int. Did I mention anything? No. So let's just whatever, make it next int, we don't care. Now the thing is, I need to ask the user, please enter the first grade between 0 and 100. And I chose my text carefully because I want this to be repeating, so the user, if he doesn't respect this rule, he will see the same message and then he will understand that this, we're still in the first grade. I'm just waiting for him to give me the first grade. But how I want it to repeat, but I wanted to at least to do this once and then check if I'm going to repeat that. So that's why the do while is really, I mean, a good loop statement to use. And I'm going to make him repeat, because as long as the grade 1 is less than 0, or the grade 1 is greater than 100, this is, if this is true, I'm going to make him repeat. But why does it complain about grade 1? Variable grade 1 is not known, as if I did not declare it. I declared grade 1, but I declared it here. And actually, if you declare something inside of a brace, it's only known inside that brace, which means now if I'm out, which here I'm out of the brace, this grade 1 is not known. How can I solve this problem? Just by taking this declaration out of the braces. And by doing just something like this, it's not a problem anymore. So I declared the grade 1, and then I'm doing this do while just to make it repeat until this is satisfied. So what I'm going to do, let me run this thing just to see it working. So if the user gives me some big number, it will stay asking him to give me the first number. If he gives me a negative number, it's going to be still asking him to give it again. So as long as I'm giving numbers that are making this true, and this is going to be true either by the number being less than 0 or the number being greater than 100. So if you are in one of these situations, then I'm going to ask him to repeat. So if I just put something like this, for example, alaikum salam, then this is okay, I don't have any problems. And then what I'd like to do now, since it works for 1 number, make it work for more than 1 numbers. So actually what I'm going to do is just maybe make it grade 2, grade 3. Now it works nice because I can just, for these 2 grades, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, I can make these to be some kind of loop and repeat them. But what if I had like more than 3 grades, like 10 grades or something? This is not a good solution for that, but at least it works for my scenario. I don't care if it's not a good solution for 10 numbers, because the question was about 3 numbers, so I'm going to be just doing it for 3 numbers. Now there's a better way, and I'm going to show it to you inshallah later, but now just make sure that this is going to work for as far as I'm concerned with just 3 numbers. Now I'm just going to say first, and then second, and then third. Now why I mention this here, the third or the second, and I'm not just saying please enter a number, because I would like to make sure that the user understands that if there's a problem, he's still entering the first number. So if I run this like this now, and then putting like these kind of things, now he's still understanding that this is still the first number. So if he enters this, Now he sees the, oh, this is the second number. If this is a problem, there's a problem with the second number until we enter something that is okay for the second number to be entered. Same thing for the third number, and then if I stop messing around and give the right number, in purpose I'm going to put this 54, whatever, but they're all acceptable, so that's okay. Now that I have done this, I have the three numbers. It's quite easy to calculate the average because it's just the average of those three numbers. So I'll just have a double average, or I can have declared it somewhere else, but I don't mind at this point. So double average, I just already declared it, sorry. Average is equal to, and I need to do this grade 1 plus grade 2 plus grade 3, all divided by 3.0. Why 0.0? Because they are ints and I want to have the result to be double, so I need to put it as double. Now, what does it say? Do you need to display the average or just display A, B, C, whatever? And here it mentions that we need to calculate the average and display the letter grade. So there's nothing that, the letter grade of the average actually. This is something that needs to be updated. And display the letter grade of the average. So that's what we'd like to display, the letter grade. So let's then ask if the grade, no, if the average is greater or equal to 90, then I'm going to display A. Maybe I can do something more. I can do something like this and say the average is, and maybe the value plus a space and then the grade is whatever. And then I did print without println because the A I want it to be on the same line, just technicality. Now if this, and now I'm going to do a lot of sequence if else if the average is greater or equal than 80, because then I'm going to display a B, and maybe just copy and paste. If it's greater than 70, that's a C, and then if it's greater than 60, that's a D, and else that's an F. And now this is all I need to make this work, because I know that if it's between 90 and 100 is going to be A. I'm not asking if it's less than 100 because I know if it was greater than 100 it's going to be still in one of the loops here. So the numbers are for sure less than 100, and for sure they are, I mean less or equal to 100, and for sure they are also greater or equal to 0. So all these numbers are going to be okay, so the average is going to be also okay. Now if I run this, I make a mistake, it's going to not be counted, but if I take for example like 55 and then another 55 and another 55, the average is, the grade is F. If I make it something like 70, 70, 70, that's a C. And if it's 60, 60 and 60, that's a D, and I'm just checking all the cases to make sure that the numbers are going to give me, like this one is the A, and the last one is to check is the B, so let's just put some values for the B. Oh, that's not okay, but this is okay. So this is working. But can we improve that? Yes, we can, and there's a better way, but I'm going just to put these, and basically the better way can just be from here onwards. Let me just maybe do something like this and put these as a comment. Control and then the backslash is going to, the slash is going to give me this. Now the other way, which is better actually, is to have some kind of a sum of those, and actually the average is going to be calculated by using the average is equal to the sum divided by 3.0. But how do I get to have the sum to be having some kind of value that is meaningful, and also making sure that I'm going to be having the grades? Well, first of all, I'm not caring about the grades. I'm just going to make sure that I read three numbers that are okay. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to need only one value for the grade, one variable for the grade. So this is the grade that I'm going to read, and I'm going to put some kind of a value that makes, or maybe just one, like -1. So I know that this -1 is for a purpose, because I want to make sure that I'm getting inside the loop for the first time. And I'm going to say, for example, something like this, while, but actually no, I'm going to do something different. You know, this -1 doesn't, it's not what I want. Let's just keep it like this. I would like to have a variable called counter. Actually, this counter starts from 1, and then I'd like to read 3 numbers. So I'm just like to make a loop that reads 3 numbers. So that's what I will do now. So while count is less than or equal to 3, then I'm going to, oops, not this one. I'm going to do something that is going to read 3 numbers. So I'm going just to copy this. Just say, please enter a number, a grade between 0 and 100. And now I'm going to read the grade by kb.nextInt. Now my problem is I need to increment the count. Normally this is how to read 3 numbers, right? I start with 1, and then becomes 2, and then becomes 3, and then when count becomes 4, I get out. So this loop will just repeat 3 times. And I just would like to make sure that everybody sees that. It repeats 3 times because when count is equal to 1, this is true. Count will become 2, and this is also true. Count will become 3, and this is also true. And that's it, because when count becomes 4, this is false, and I get out. So I'm going to read 3 numbers. But I would like to read actually more than 3 numbers based on a specific condition. Because if after reading the grade, I found out that the grade is less than 0, or the grade is greater than 100, I don't want to count plus plus. I would like to just display the error message, and if not, I will just do the count. Now I'll just go for the next number. Now what's the good thing about this thing is that I'm going to say, for example, error, and now what I'm doing is that I'm asking you to give me a number. If the number that I got is not respecting the rule, I'm going to display an error message, and I'm not changing count, which means count, if it was 1, it will stay 1 and go up and ask him to again, please enter a grade. I mean, this is still the first grade, but this is now working. It can work with any number. You can have like this kind of number of grades, it will still work. But let's test it for 3, for example. Now if I have this and enter something wrong, it's going to give me error, and then it's still error as long as I'm entering something wrong. And if I enter something okay, then it's okay. It's not an error message. So this is going to be something to use, probably, to understand that this is going to work every time. How does it work? Let's just follow this count. If I just stop this and run again, just to make sure that you understand how it works. If I run this, now count is equal to 1, because if I'm seeing this, that means I'm here. And if I'm here, that means that Boolean expression was true. I'm trying to display everything at the same time. Where is it? Here it is. So as you can see here, I'm inside here, so which means this is true, which means if I look at the variable, it's inside of count, 1 is less than 3. But what happens if I type this 1, 2, 3? Now this 1, 2, 3 is going to be stored inside of grade, and then grade is 1, 2, 3. Is it less than 0? No. Is it greater than 100? Yes. I'm going to see error, and then finish and go up. Did I change count? No, it stayed 1. So count is still 1, and then I'm still reading this first number. So if I press enter here, I'm still showing that this is reading the first number. Yeah, I'm still in the first number. And you know what? I can just do something nice, and you might like it, and it also will make you sure that you're still reading number 1. What if I just do something like this? Now I'm going to ask, please enter grade 1 between 0 and 100. So if I run this thing, you're going to be able to see that the count here doesn't change, because you see, please enter grade 1, and it started by being 1. If I type this number, error, please enter grade 1. So it's even showing me that I'm still counting the first grade. As long as I'm giving something that is not respecting the conditions, it's going to be staying in grade 1. If I type something correct, now please enter grade 2. I noticed that the count was updated, and this is just showing me a better way how to do some kind of debugging and also following up the variable and making it easy for the user to follow up what is happening. Now, as long as I type these things, now if I respect the condition, it's immediately going to keep going. If I didn't, it will make a loop. And this loop now is going to work for all numbers. If you have more than 3, just change this. 15 numbers, well, that's 15 numbers, and then this is going to loop 15 times. But now one thing is missing is the sum. I did not calculate the sum. I just need to calculate when this is, if this is true, that means there's a problem. I'm not calculating the sum when there's a problem. When there's no problem, this is where I calculate the sum. So this is where I do something like the grade here added to the sum. And then once I have this, that means all these good grades are just the ones that are going to be counted in the sum, and just will display the calculate the average based on the sum, and then the rest is just the same thing. Now if I run this again, if I type some weird numbers, I'm still stuck. If I type some good numbers, and this is still a problem, and this is a good value, and this is not a good value, so this is the average is 95. As you can see, just took the 95s. Which one do you like, first or second? Second is much more flexible, and as long as you understand what's happening, this is quite more interesting. But you can see we can get the same solution with different ways. So, and this is actually what makes adds a little bit of complication, because the more ways you have, the more you have to think, which one should I use? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? And it might be confusing, but you have to do a lot of exercises, so you're going to be comfortable with the way that you need to deal with uncertainty. You're not sure that your way is working, but you have to keep going until you're sure that it is not. When it's not working, then finally try another alternative. Okay, that's not working, I need to change something. So, and this is how you should, inshallah, find your way out. That's it.